So we all know this. It is really easy to get into debt, especially when you are going for your college degree, buying a house, maybe a car, using those credit cards. But not all debt is bad debt. CPA Alan Sanderson is here to explain a little bit more about good debt versus bad thing. Is there really such a thing?
Yeah, there really is. Debt's a tool, and if it's used properly, it will work for you. And if it's used improperly, you can mash your thumb. And so it's like a hammer, a lot like a hammer. But there's different types of debt, and there's different ways of using them. Sometimes they can work for you, sometimes against you. I'll give you an example. Let's look at college debt. So many kids go to college now, and they'll pile up on the loans. When you go into college, you're young, you're bright-eyed, the rose-colored glasses, and I'm going to get a degree and make a bunch of money, and the loan will get paid off by itself somehow, right? Well, if you go out and get a degree in underwater basket weaving, and you can't get a job, and you're $200,000 in debt coming out, or worse yet, you don't graduate, and suddenly the loans become due, now all of a sudden you've got a big hammer, and that debt is almost impossible to discharge in bankruptcy nowadays. The people that got into that industry made it difficult to get it discharged in bankruptcy, and then after that they get your mother, your father, your grandfather, your dog, and everybody else to sign on it.
Yes.
Sure, the maid, and it's just very difficult. So if you're going to take out student debt, make sure that you're in a program that's going to produce a degree that will allow you to pay that debt off.
And consider, too, perhaps if you need to go to graduate school,
Absolutely,
where you're going to finally end up in your career, because that could be additionally piling on.
Absolutely. But by the same token, the other side of the coin is the statistics still show if you get a college degree, you're going to make significantly more in your lifetime on average than the high school graduate or the dropout or someone like that. And so you're going to have the capacity to pay that debt off. So that's one way to look at debt, one way or the other.
So let's talk about the things that we mentioned earlier that everybody pretty much goes for buying as they get older. We're talking about a car, a home. Good debt, bad debt. Home
can be very good debt because in your credit scores and things like this, the homeowner, the person with a mortgage who pays on time, that helps significantly because now you're part of the community, part of the establishment, so to speak. And so that looks good in your credit rating. But again, in a house, you got to remember, you build for something that you pay off over time and eventually have a cheap place to live or to rent out. If you're like in Florida or someplace like that, or some places in Houston, and you have a house that you owe $100,000 on that's worth $50,000, now that house is a ball and chain around your neck. So again, be careful where you buy, watch the market, and make sure that you don't get upside down in that debt.
And we're talking about the average spender, not people who can buy these items in cash.
Correct. The credit card, that's the same type of a thing. Credit card debt is some of the easiest debt to manage if you get into a pinch or to help you manage your way out of a pinch. If you're using credit cards, never get more than, say, 30% into your credit cards. Because once you start getting into that range, now your debt is becoming permanent financing and not just taking care of the transmission when it falls out of your car or something, right?
Not the necessities in an emergency.
Yeah, that's what credit card is for. It's to take care of those sorts of things. It's convenience. And that's why you pay 15, 20, as high as 30% in some cases on a credit card. So manage it carefully, keep it under 10 to 20%, and you're going to be okay with that.
Always enlightening, Alan. Thank you so much for coming in today.
My pleasure.